Try this one more time. Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. He's the coach, Phillip Roybal. And if you love college football, you are definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment. The Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. Everybody, please welcome to the show our friend of the show, Mr. Jay Smith from Unfair Sports. Very sorry about the technical difficulties. We were trying to use the new software. We're struggling with it. We are in studio together with the coach, though. Jay, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How's everybody doing out there? Good to see y'all together.
Jay looking good, as always, brother.
And trying to catch up with you, coach.
All right, so listen, guys, obviously there's been a lot of stuff been going on since the last time we spoke. Number one running back in the country. We talked about this on Friday. Taylor Tatum coming in instead of going to USC. That was huge for the fan base more than anything, don't you, Jay? To kind of beat Lincoln at his own thing. Obviously USC fans are going to tell you that it doesn't matter. That they're loaded. Of course they're loaded. They're always loaded at tailback. Don't tell me that's not who you wanted. So, but that being said, it's a big deal for OU fans, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's huge. It's Jason, your voice is a little muffed. It's kind of weird, but coach's is like crystal clear. It's very interesting. But outside of that, no, it's funny when a recruit
This is probably better.
That's much better. It's so funny to me when a recruit picks one school over another. There's always the excuse of either a bag or we didn't really want them anyway, or we stopped recruiting a long time ago. And I totally understand that if you're coming off like a top 8 or a top 6, even sometimes a top 4. But if it's only 2 programs, nah. Both of y'all wanted them. It's all about who just got it. And in this situation, Oklahoma prevailed because they provided the compelling offer that Taylor Tatum wanted. Now, granted, if it was just a baseball piece, sure, I'm not mad. Sure. He wants to play football and baseball. He wants to be a multi-sport athlete. We're quote-unquote two-sport U since we've done it so much. So, I mean, yeah, sure, baseball was the tipping point. That means that football was probably about equal.
Right. No, yeah. And I think that's clear. Yeah, Lori, we will be getting into some of that, what we were just talking about. Obviously, after the commitment there, then in the same day, you get forecasts for blue chip defensive line targets, David Stone.
Mm-hmm.
And Nigel Smith, 2 of the biggest targets, period, for Oklahoma, which I think everybody knows. I mean, it's been well documented and talked ad nauseum here, is that's the most important thing for Oklahoma, is to shore up that defensive line. As of right now, it looks like, if you're listening to some of the prognosticators and insiders out there, they're all saying that the last 6 guys that they're in the lead on. There's a possibility that not only do you receive those 2 guys, Williams Nwaneri as well, but Dominic McKinley seems to be well in the mix there as well. I mean, you've got guys that all over the country. You already added Jaden Jackson. This is big. Jay, what are you hearing in those terms? I know you guys are closer with that than anybody else, but what are your feelings on that as far as this defensive line stuff is concerned?
Yeah, I've been keeping a pulse on it, reaching out to folks, asking questions, trying to get a better understanding of what things look like. And man, keeping it a buck, it looks like Oklahoma is really making moves on all the defensive linemen that they're actually going after, from David Stone to Nigel Smith to Williams Neri, it looks like their names are popping up. As you can see, we're seeing crystal balls go in over and over and over again, to where I'm just like, yeah, this is going to be a great class. If we can go ahead and just seal the deal and get them to sign a line which is dotted, it's probably one of the greatest defensive line hauls almost in college football history.
Yeah, and that is it not just in Oklahoma history, in history of college football. I mean, think about this. You're looking at 8 total defensive line candidates, whether they be edge rush or defensive tackles, that are in that 4-star range, which is, just unheard of, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. It's absolutely unheard of. And to be able to do something like that, just the fact that just getting, we've talked about this a lot. And Coach, what do you tell us your thoughts on this as well? If you were to get a couple of these guys, that is what we've been talking about, that is groundbreaking. And you're building a foundation for a championship future. I mean, to be able to, if you're talking about getting like 8 guys, what have you ever even seen anything like that, Coach?
Well, I tell you, I've been very, very impressed with OU and their recruiting. It's something we've been talking about for several months now, and they're getting the right people. And like Jay was saying earlier, don't say you really didn't want him. And same way with some of the other schools, because if you didn't really want him, then you wouldn't have been recruiting.
Right.
And so, but at the end of the day, y'all are getting the right people in the right places. How many top number 1 recruits do y'all have at this point? 3?
Yeah,
3 number 1 recruits, guys. Who else
Trending.
is doing that?
Trending towards, yeah. We got Tatum, and then you're trending toward Waneri and Stone.
Yeah.
Whew.
Well, and on top of that, when you add that to the 2023 class, then you got Jackson Arnold, who was the number 1 quarterback, or arguably the number 1 quarterback anyway. Then you also had PJ Adebawore, who was the number 1 the edge rusher in the country, and to add Peyton Bowen, who was number 2 in the backfield, in the defensive backfield. Guys, this is a situation where, you're looking at a team full of all-stars, and you continue to hear that these guys are all talking together and planning this together. I don't see how, a lot of stuff is going to have to break down in order for you to tear this thing up, right?
No, yeah. Somebody's got to fumble a bag to mess this bad boy up. And as the way it's going, I don't see Oklahoma would have to go 0-11 in order to ruin this. I'll just put it that way.
Right.
And we know that's not happening. Even barring injury, it's not happening. They would have to be awful, and we know that that's not the problem. And so, yeah, right now this is going to be probably the best class ever signed here, outside of something from like the 70s.
Y'all are hitting on all cylinders on the recruiting side of the equation, and again, let's all remember, it's what you do with them once you get them.
Sure, critical,
and that's no matter what coach or what coach is, what institution they go to, you gotta, but it's a lot easier than making chicken salad out of chicken poop.
Fair.
Yeah, it is. Look, in the end, here's what I had to say about it. To me, I feel like this is a situation where, look, we all expected even just to get a couple, and you've had a lot of situation where you've had people that are concerned about it. You don't have all these guys that have nailed down the commitment yet, but this goes to, in my opinion, this goes to show you that no matter what, the soul mission works. The soul mission works. They are not in here just trying to outbid everybody else. Not to say that these guys aren't going to get paid, but that's not what they're doing. This isn't a situation where they're trying to outbid everybody else, right? They are making sure that you're going to get the guys that are fit for your program, not problem children. And these guys are all banding together. what Lori was just saying in here a few minutes ago, and you have to, yeah, you're right, Professor. You definitely have to develop them. But, you know, when you start looking at what Lori was saying in here, they were talking about shocking the world. And you have heard that a bunch, where a lot of these kids, they know each other. They know each other well. You know, we're still talking about the running back. What's that kid's name? The one that goes to Duncanville there. Jay, help me real quick.
Caden Durham.
Yeah, Caden Durham. Him, along with, you know, all the Oklahoma kids that were, you know, they all want them to make sure that they're going to play together. But they've all banded together with guys like Nigel Smith and guys like Williams Waneri. And this is something that they all want to come together and, as they said with Lori, shock the world, right?
Right.
Well, and is Caden one of those that's coming down basically to, again, LSU and OU?
Yes. Yeah, and that's the one that we're looking at. That would be the one that you're kind of concerned about. You know, what do we do? Hey, easy guys in there in the chat. Guys, all right. Everybody settle down. About talking about each other's mama, man. We keep it about that, right? We keep it about something other than that. I mean, we allow some stuff, but come on. All right. Yeah, look. Let's see. Judging on his recruiting. Let's get into the chat. Guys, thanks everybody for coming into the show. As you know, and we're absolutely obviously having some issues, but Brian, thanks for coming in. Sooner Cowboys, good to see you again. Lori, Hank, as always. Lemon, good to see you, buddy. Kim, we got our regulars in here. I saw Adela in here a few minutes ago. Let us know if you're still here, Adela. Professor, thank you so much for everything. I wasn't planning on having a lot of this stuff, but I'll definitely have your graphics up later whenever I redo some of this stuff. Hey, Derek, nice to see you. Eddie, let's got some new guys in here. K-Son, hey, buddy. I'm glad you're here. Hope you're back in here still with us. Adela was in the last one. I don't see her in here yet, but let me see what we're talking about here. New follower. Hey, thanks a lot, K-Son. Hank talked about, let's see. What is Luigi saying? Billy, Jeff, OU is in for a rude awakening. 8-5 on a regular basis is a disappointment for OU. I don't know who's saying that, but it doesn't surprise you. Here's the thing. You got to remember that you're going to see a lot of this kind of stuff from SEC trolls and people like that. The people that know better, right?
Right.
Here's in the truth of it being is OU, whether you're in the SEC, whether you're in the Big 12, whatever conference you're in, back in the Big 8 days, they're a blue blood. They're never, ever going to be okay with being 8-5 Texas A&M. It's not going to be okay.
No.
You know, that idea that being pushed out there by Colin Cowherd and some of these other pundits out there that Oklahoma's about to be Nebraska of the SEC is just ridiculous. So worrying about what morons like that are saying, I mean, of course they're going to do it. They're going to get a rise out of Oklahoma fans. Right? That's just what it is.
Great
right?
for engagement. No lie.
It does. It definitely raises engagement. And when you figure the SEC fans that are saying it, they're not fans of, generally, they're not going to be fans of Georgia or Alabama or LSU. They're probably fans of Missouri that are pissed off that OU's coming. You know, that they don't want them there. A&M fans who still hadn't been able to get it done. And they couldn't get it done in the Big 12 either. Big shocker. You know, they're not going to get it done there. So anybody who's going to say that kind of stuff, who cares? Who cares? Let them talk. They can keep talking, right? That's all I would have to say about that. I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's going to be all good.
Well, and Jason, Jay, you know, as we've talked before 100 times about this, but you know, the thing that's hurt Oklahoma in recent seasons is obviously piss poor defense. And
sure,
there, you know, look at recruiting, look at, you know, you look at their strength and conditioning program. You look at all those intangibles that they're getting better on the defensive side of the ball. They've always been able to play offense. But I think now that they've got some athletes and they're shoring up their defense, they're getting a hold of their new scheme defensively. I think they're going to be tough again. And you OU fans, I have a hard time saying that, but I try to be, look at things from a perspective that it's a third party looking at things, and I feel like you're going to have a great football team.
Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't. And you start looking at the transfer portal stuff as well. Hell, even just the guy. I mean, we're talking about the future and that's what's most important, I think, for Oklahoma fans is what you see once you get to the SEC. But don't forget, you got another year in this Big 12, and I think that you're going to see a big improvement here out of Oklahoma. As Jay was saying, I think in order to not keep this thing together, are you going to get all 8 of them? Maybe not. Maybe you get 5. You get 6. Who cares? One thing I know is this is definitely a ground shaking haul is what you're going to end up with unless you just go out there and completely lay an egg.
Well,
I can't imagine any situation where that's really going to be how it is, right? I just can't imagine that.
And Jason, you think back
Look
a
at
few
your
shows here, and you think back to a few shows here, and you're thinking to the fact that, we were talking about how recruiting was sucking at OU. And again, we kept talking about that too. Be patient. Let things unfold. And if some people still think recruiting is sucking, you better take a good look, guys, because they're on the upswing, and they're gonna recruit some great players. They've already recruited some great players and gonna get some more. So, again, be patient. And sometimes I think people tend to forget that, you look at the Georgias, the Alabamas, those teams. Yeah, early on in the process, hell, they don't have very many recruits. And everybody's up in the air about, they're not recruiting very well. Well, at the end of the day, the good recruits that they're recruiting, they're making decisions down at the end of that period. And so Oklahoma's falling into that mold right now. Is maybe they didn't get all those guys early, but now they're picking them up. And so, again, great recruiting.
Yeah, and that's where it starts. I mean, it starts. You always say it, the Jimmies and Joes. You got to have the Jimmies and Joes before the X's and O's even matter.
Yeah.
But that this is a situation where, I mean, hey, they're good at the X's and O's parts too, right, Jay? I mean, there's a reason why Coach Venables' defenses were ranked in the top 10, 8 out of 10 years, 8 out of the last 10 years at Clemson. The other 2 years, they were in the top 20.
Sure.
So I don't think they just forgot, Yeah. So that's my thoughts there. All right. We're getting some good chatter going in here. Hit the like right away, guys. Yeah. If you hadn't already hit the like button, I guess we're getting a lot of talk about that. Please go ahead and do that as well. Folks, I didn't get it launched just yet. We've been having these difficulties. I'm trying to get the studio up, but by tomorrow you will have memberships available to become a channel member. We starting off at like $3 a month. It's about the price of a cup of coffee. That will help us tremendously as a team to continue bringing you this amazing content week after week. In order to do that, if you do that and become a member, even at that low level, we'll have Discord sessions, private videos just for our membership alone. But you'll be able to get in there on Discord and we'll be able to chat with everybody. Unfair Sports is also doing the same thing. If you hadn't already become a channel member over there, make sure you do that as well. Guys,
where in the hell are you buying your coffee?
I said it's less than the cost of a cup.
If you said $3, I'm paying triple that.
Yeah. No. And I'm just saying it's going to be less than the price of a cup of coffee. So yeah. Yeah, we're excited though. It's going to be really cool. That'll be up there. I didn't get it launched today. Been working at it, but it's just been one of them deals. Yeah, let's see. Eddie Weeks, well said. Yeah, and Coach, and that was well said. It's if you think that it's going to be that way, you're just a hater. And they're out there. We already know those guys are out there, so that's okay.
Lovers and haters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So Will there be, Jay, I'm going to ask you, will there be a clean sweep of the rest of these guys that we're talking about?
If I'm going to give it a ratio, a percentage, I'm going to say about a 80. I'll do 80-20 right now on this one. Right now, we're in great position with all these players that we're going after. The reports are coming out that looks like the relationships are still great. The staff has great relationships. Ty Bates and Miguel Chavis have done a fantastic job of building that. Same thing with Coach Brent Venables. And then, of course, the Soul Mission. As you mentioned, the Soul Mission has been a big deal in a lot of circles and conversations that I've seen around a lot of these players. And so as long as they continue this momentum, continue these relationships, as we expected, July and August are going to be huge months for OU recruiting, and why Gilmore's power line is going to just continue to fill up because – quite frankly, they all know that they want to come and play together. They all have an idea that if they come together, dominate the SEC, they'll not only look great going into the SEC, but also going into the NFL draft. And that's where all of their ultimate goal is. And so because of that, I anticipate 9 out of 10 hitting. Maybe one wild card just kind of falls off, but I see at least 9 more players coming through, and we may whiff on one.
So where would that and where would that land as far as rankings in all-time recruiting? I mean, think about this. Even let's just say you get Winery, Stone, Smith, and Dominic McKinley. Whoa. Where would that land you as far as recruiting is concerned?
I mean, see, that's what
others guys, but wow.
That's what 3 5-stars right there. I mean, it won't be as big as Alabama's 9 5-star haul. What was that, 3 or 4 years ago? Well, actually 2 years ago. So right. That haul was ginormous. Actually, no, it was last year's class. So Alabama's been, Alabama's doing it, big with their massive 5-star haul, but I don't think all of them were on the defensive line. So getting all of these defensive linemen, I think this is probably going to be as big as, I say, Clemson 2018. And that was the Todd Bates, Brent Venables special. So if we're getting that again, I mean, it could be up there. I mean, I think the closest is probably what Texas A&M when they had their 7 5-stars and they had 4 of them on the defensive line. But I can anticipate us going more than that. So, but as Casey mentioned, McKinley as well as Danny Okoye, you add those as, man, our line will be built perfectly for the SEC. Let's just put it that way.
Listen, and that, yes. And so that power line graphic, I like that. You alluded to that a little bit. To me, that's amazing. I love the graphic. You keep, you're getting a lot of trolls that were saying that there was other guys in there, T.A. Cunningham or whatever. That guy hasn't been recruited for a year. Easy. You got the Texas clans. How many of those guys are shaking in their boots right now, thinking of what it is that's going on? That Texas is used to recruiting out in front of Oklahoma, generally speaking. So that's bothering them down there in Austin, and that's cool. Yeah, be upset about it. That's great. To me, I think if they do get this, if they sweep out and even get, I would say, let's see, who was saying McKinley. I would see that. Yeah, maybe not him, maybe not Durham, because of the fact, and I think the Durham part of it has something to do with the fact of how loaded that running back room is. You only get so much time in college to get your chance to play. If he's getting told by LSU's coaching staff that he's going to come in there and play right away, it's going to be kind of tough. That's also an SEC program. It doesn't really hurt what he wanted as his goals. I could see him doing that. I'd love to see him hang around and stick with this class. And I think that in the end, it's kind of the same thing that I've been saying about David Stone. I've always felt like I can't imagine him not going to OU because, well, first off, he's been leading the charge on this recruiting stuff, right? Number 2, how do you want to miss out on that? This has been your dream as a kid in Oklahoma for your whole life growing up. You have guys like Gerald McCoy recruiting you personally to come to Oklahoma, former OU guys. I don't see any way that doesn't work itself out. Good question here by Professor with all this great running back talent. Do you see any guy or two leaving? Possibly. But the thing is that they're kind of staggered out. So, and everybody, listen, they knew about these guys when they committed to DeMarco, right? not everybody necessarily has to believe that they're coming in and starting right away. If you're, when you're coming in and you've got Javonte Barnes, Gavin Sawchuk, I feel like right away you're going to see Smothers and Hicks probably get some time. I think everybody hopes to see a little bit of Marcus Majors because of hoping that he can stay healthy anyway. This is his senior season. He's got one more shot at it. As electric as he was when he is healthy, you would want to see that. But, Jay, do you feel like there's maybe some patience there in that room? Or is it one of those deals where maybe it's a situation where, hey, we want to come in and compete?
I mean, it kind of depends. So I think one of the big selling points, especially at the running back position for this question for the professor, has been DeMarco Murray has history as a bell cow running back in the NFL, right? He rushed for had over 300 carries in a season, and then they didn't want to pay him. So then he leaves. He goes to Tennessee. He does it again, and then they don't want to pay him. And then guess what? His career basically gets cut short because he became the bell cow for so long. And so the selling point that I've heard and actually it was funny, Colin Kennedy, when he came on the channel on Fair Sports, you can go check out the interview I had with him about a week or so ago before Tatum committed. He came on and he basically said that was the big selling point to him. It was like, look, I've been there. I've been a all-pro NFL running back, and I've put in the time and I've got all the carries, and my career got cut short. Yeah. So if I bring you all here together and we shorten up your carries, but you still go out there and explode for over 1,000 yards rushing on a regular basis and show your talent, we've preserved your body to where you can get an additional 3 to 4 years in the NFL. As we already see, they don't want to play running backs right now. You're preserving yourself to where long-term you can play. Also, if you decide you want to play another sport, we can make sure that you can do both. And so whichever one you excel at, that's where you're going to go to. That's really the selling point. So I don't see running backs wanting to roll out unless, Oklahoma starts putting running backs in the NFL. And to be quite honest, I don't see that happening. DeMarco Murray's been doing a great job of making sure to keep the train going of OU running backs in the NFL.
Well, and I mean, I know of another running back that they have a commitment from last year during Bedlam, So, and that was I want to say it was his dad was an NFL guy. I'll get back to it here in a minute, but I mean, there's a lot of guys coming through, and I agree. And Coach, what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
I love Jay, but I don't buy those backs not taking as many snaps because you look at college football as a whole, and you look at them going on to the NFL. It's those guys that are carrying the ball a lot, and that's just I think that's what we've continued to see over the years. It's hard to tell, and I can tell you this: it's hard to, from a coach's perspective, when you have 3 or 4 good athletes back there like that, and you're telling them, well, you know what, you're all going to get chances to carry the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you guys, egos are high in those guys, which that's why they're so good. Part of the reason. But I see some guys leaving because I don't think they're all going to sit back and take limited snaps.
Okay. Well, I would go ahead.
Let
Jay.
me rebuttal on that real quick. And Coach, I totally get you with that. And I think that's kind of where the new school ball has really evolved even more, even from like 2005. Perfect example. Lawrence Maroney, Marion Barber. Both of those two were running backs at Minnesota that we all knew about, and they split the carries at about 200 a pop at the collegiate level, both going over 1,000 yards, over 200 carries. And we knew about Marion Barber, rest in peace, at Dallas with the Cowboys, splitting time with Felix Jones, who came from Arkansas, who did the exact same thing with Darren McFadden, who was with them at Arkansas. You see what I'm saying? So it's the splitting up at 200 carries each. These running backs were able to last, unless you're a generational talent, you're not going to make it in the NFL as a running back past 6 years. That's just been a fact that we've seen really happen more and more over the last few years. And so looking at how teams are going with the 2-back system, you figure in a 3rd back. I mean, look at Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine. And now they're doing it at Cincinnati. That's becoming the norm because running backs are quote unquote disposable is the way that they're doing it at the NFL. Collegiately, you're right. Egos are there. But the one thing that I've learned about some egos is this. Brian Robinson could have left Alabama years ago. He stuck around all 4 years, got his last year, dominated in the playoffs, drafted. Now he's with Washington. And some running backs see that. I don't have to carry the ball 400 times in a season, 300 times in a season, if I'm with a program that's known for getting running backs drafted. That's the only reason why I say that, Coach. And so I get what you're saying. You're right. Egos are flying at most places. But if you show a track record, a lot of these kids don't mind having just 1 year film because, honestly, 1 year film is enough to get you drafted with these professional eyeballs.
And Jay, I'll go with the 2-back deal. But still, when you got a running back room and you got 7 or 8 running backs in that room, you're going to lose some kids. And
that's fair.
But I'll go with you on the 2-back deal.
Well,
and I tell you what, Notre Dame, we're sitting in that boat too with, even though we lost one of our great running backs because we kind of did that last year, the 2-back deal and the 1-2 punch. But even though one of them left, I still think we're going to be 2 or 3 running backs, just like you're talking about. So I see exactly what you're saying. I just think once you get past those 2 or 3, you get kids that start flying out of there.
Well, that's the good news of it. That part is that you've got right now. You have Barnes and Sawchuk who are firmly implanted as your 1-2 back starting off. They're going to be coming into their junior season next year. You're probably not going to see a ton of sitting on the bench as it's staggered out like that. That's the big thing. They could, if you have one of them that has a huge year this year, you might see one of them go to the draft, right? And if we've seen Jeff Lebby with his RPO, look, he sent Gray to the draft in one season. Eric Gray hadn't really done much under Lincoln. To me, he had been kind of ho-hum until Jeff Lebby showed up. He turned into the feature back a year ago. Javonte could do that. I think that Sawchuk could be a one and done type of guy because of the fact of that speed. Tear the top off the defense type of game breaker speed. So, and that's where you do have that. And look, I think you're right, Coach, in the fact that some of these guys may get to the point where they're going to be a bit on edge to hurry up and start. I can see, that's a reason why you might see Caden Durham saying, I don't know if I want to deal with this with that many guys out there. I think that he would be the dark horse guy to now finish up and go ahead and come in when you have Taylor Tatum already committed to the program.
I would agree.
And I think that Taylor's as much committed to going to Oklahoma because of the baseball program and playing in the SEC. He said as much, that it's not only just SEC football, you're going to come in and play SEC baseball, which is clearly the best conference for baseball as well. So I think it's a big deal in that regard as well for that. So I could definitely see that working out. Living Line, thank you so much for your appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for
love, Living Line.
$10, man. We appreciate that. Yeah, he did say he just signed up
so you signed up for the membership. I appreciate the support. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming down the line in August. I'm gonna put all kinds of content on the membership side only on top of standard stuff. So thank you for the love and support. We're getting it together, baby. We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we're at right now with our side as well. I have a background as a sports writer, so I'm going to be doing a lot of deep dive writing, doing some stuff like that would also be available on the membership side. We'll have some call-in shows where it's just for our membership as well. Again, it starts off at $2.99. There'll be another one up to I think it's like $10, and then there may be a third one. We haven't finished it off just yet, but we'll have it up there. Appreciate you guys jumping in and doing that as well, though. Yeah. Jumping in. Hey, look at that. 60 guys in here. How many likes we got? Let us know. Let's see.
37. We got 37. We need to get some more.
That's pretty good. We could get some more, though. Yeah. If you haven't hit the like button, just do it. That's the biggest thing that helps us more than anything else is views and likes. If you do that for us, money spending doesn't have to be a big thing. I mean, doing that $3 membership would be perfect, because as long as we're getting clicks and likes and views, that's the main thing. We'll continue to be out there on that algorithm. We'll get more views, which gets you more on the back end on that deal. So that's the way that it works the best. Oh, look at here, another one.
Yep.
Bishop Frank, thank you so much. Special tactical soul mission power line. Hey man, I love it. That is one long hashtag. Sooners dare to go through the fire special tactical task force soul mission power line. I love it, Bishop Frank. Thank you so much, man. Thank you guys so much. Do we know when Stone will commit? From what I'm hearing, it seems like he's going to probably be after the rest of them, right? Or what are your thoughts?
I'm hearing August that there's a potential for before the season starts.
Okay.
But no one has been able to confirm or give us anything definitive. So I'm going to look to see, because it seems like all these defensive linemen, except for Nigel Smith, are trying to get everything wrapped up before the season starts. Nigel's the only one because he wanted to do it at a special ceremony. And I'm hearing he is going to be, well, he said that he's going to do it at the high school. So because of that, we're waiting on, we know Nigel's going to be September. But everybody else, it seems like they're wanting to get this over with to focus on their senior year. And also because of the new rules, you only can do your official visits. You have unlimited official visits starting July 1st, but you can only visit those schools once unless you're committed. If you're committed, you can visit multiple times. They can have multiple official visits to the school you're committed to. So you're probably going to see more kids go ahead and knock it out before the season starts. That way they can start visiting during the season and go to games on a regular basis. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think that what Hank said here, I think that he's been committed for quite a while as it is, right? He's doing a lot of the recruiting, as Hank's saying here. Kaysen is hearing 26 on ESPN2 during their first game. I could see that too. But again, that's going to be, you're expecting Williams-Winery. We're hearing that it may not be the 1st, it may be the 7th of August. I could see that possibly happening as well. In the end, I think that it's not as important about when he says it out loud. I think that his actions are speaking louder than anything else. The fact that he has really been that guy that's been making sure that he is getting out there and saying, hey, we want you. He's leading the recruiting charge for everybody else. That's why, I was on Voice of College Football yesterday, and you have that one. I swear he's got to be a USC fan. But he continues to say stuff like, David Stone, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I don't know what you're talking about, because there's no way. As far as McKinley's concerned, I don't know, man. There's a lot of smoke out there about that. It seems like LSU could be kind of back in that. I know that his parents really, really enjoyed the Champion Barbecue and Oklahoma. They love the Soul Mission side of things. I still feel like there's an opportunity that he's going to get there. Thank you again, Bishop Frank. My man, another $5. Never flinch. Boomer, it's time. Let's go. Let's go. We are ready to go as well. Let's see. McKinley, I don't know, though. It could happen at any point as well. I still feel like, again, what you're hearing is that these guys are all kind of talking together. What are we hearing about this weekend with the party at the Palace? Is that's this coming weekend, correct?
Yeah, that is Friday. Thursday, tomorrow, Wednesday, is the Under the Stars deal. That's where all the 25s, the 26s, and 27s, years that aren't real, are going to be in town to come hang out. And there's been a lot of activity over the last 24 hours on social media. Players are going to be in town, so you'll be seeing them today, the 25th, and tomorrow. So hop on Twitter, you'll see us retweeting all the players as they're posting stuff. But you're starting to see a lot of traffic pull up.
Yeah, and as Bishop Frank's saying here in the chat, I think that the Soul Mission is huge, right? When you have parents and you're starting to see, we talked about this a lot, Jay, on your show a couple of weeks ago. And look, they have an optics problem at places like Georgia right now. When you're having all these drag racing and you've had a death now, You're getting lawsuits out of it, and they're still getting in a bunch of trouble. You got all these guys that, you know, they're recruiting with sports cars and then acting like these guys aren't going to go in there and drive like that and be crazy. Parents are not really loving that. Don't be coming in here recruiting with, you know, bringing a Lamborghini to my house. I don't want to see that crap. You know what I mean? I can see to where that it is. I think it is a big X factor, and I think that it's going to be one of those deals. Stoney wants all his guys to have their moments first. I think you're right about that too. I've heard of that.
I have heard that.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I've heard that. I've heard that that's an encouragement also by the staff, is to let everybody have their moment and let them go. And the unfortunate thing though with Stoney in this is we're still waiting on him to make the decision. We're still waiting on him to do the official. And so it's kind of like, honestly, if you rip your Band-Aid off first, it may allow for everybody else to have their moment. But right now it's still adding speculation and suspense to when it's going to happen for him. But if anything, if Williams Nwaneri does him on the first, of course, he enjoys the process. But if Nwaneri finishes his next Tuesday and does his on the first as anticipated, I think that was what his coach said. Jamar Mosey mentioned that's the anticipated date for the family. If they knock that out, then I think that kind of slows down everybody's anxiety around these defensive linemen. We just need them to start coming down the line. And once they start coming down the line, everybody stops caring. Right?
Right. Yeah, this one right here, Lori asking if you had to pick one guy from the defense, not on the radar really, that's a 5-star already committed somewhere, who would that be? Hank was saying Bussy. Is he committed already somewhere though? Because I haven't heard of him being committed.
Bussy has no home yet. Fong did give him.
He's way. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Fong did give him he get Fonged to Texas A&M. We're just waiting for it to happen, to be absolutely honest.
Okay. Could that be a flip? Maybe. I think a lot of that's going to depend on what A&M does this season. I think that's going to have a lot to do with it in the end. Myself, A&M is in. I think Lori you asked about David Hicks. If he would be a possibility later on down the line if he ended up leaving A&M.
Yeah,
maybe. You tend to wonder a little bit, right?
You'd probably have to get Jimbo Fisher fired first, and I don't think they're going to pay. They don't have $200 million to get rid of Jimbo Fisher. So yeah, we're at least 4 years stuck with him.
Right. Of course, they're still landing 5 stars. That's not what I was saying, Sooner Cowboy. I'm just saying. I'm just saying there's a situation out there where that's what we're talking about, that this relationship recruiting on the Soul Mission and that kind of stuff is continuing to be just as effective, if not more, than just dumping a bag of cash on a guy. You know, there's more to it than that. If you look, it's going on at Clemson too. You know, they're doing the same. Soul Mission goes on there. I mean, look at Brian Westco. You know, they look, Clemson's right up there at the top of the heap as well. They're not struggling. They've got the best defense in the country. I think that I more and more feel like if it's not Georgia that wins their 3rd straight, I think it probably is Clemson this season. You know, I think that if you see that Garrett Riley effect that you saw last year on Max Duggan with the Cade Klubnik, who's certainly more gifted as a player than what Max Duggan ever was, I could definitely see Clemson being able to do that, because when you're talking all 3 levels on the defense, there's nobody close. I don't think. There's just not. Maybe Georgia. But
maybe Georgia.
You know, Clemson, maybe Georgia, but Clemson is right there on all 3 levels of that defense. And I feel like, you know, when you're talking about other teams that could win the national title this year, you know, I would put my money on Clemson more and more. I'm feeling that way. I'm not feeling FSU as much as a lot of people are. I don't know. But something we will have this weekend, wanted to go ahead and announce this as well. We will have one of those recruits that we've been talking about as important to this class as any of these 5 stars as far as I'm concerned. Nigel Smith II will be on with me on Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Hall of Fame College Football. We will have him in there talking to him. Hey, you guys all know he's been my favorite recruit of the whole lot of them. I love watching him play his other sports. I think he's going to be explosive, and I think he's one of those guys that I know that it's been a big deal from what you've heard in his other interviews and stuff, that Soul Mission is a big deal to him and his family as well. He hasn't committed yet, and I know that there's some other guys out there. We're not going to bug on about what he's going to do, but I've been saying I felt like he's OU. We've been hearing that an awful lot. We'll see what he says on Saturday, but I'm excited to have Nigel on the show.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty stoked to see it.
Yeah, man, it should be fun. And Coach ain't going to be here, but where are you going to be this week, Coach? Where are you headed?
I'm actually headed tomorrow to Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Yeah, I may log in from over there on the beach.
No, you're not. You sorry sucker.
I'm ready. I need a little
Costa Rica.
After spending that week with you over at the Big 12 Media Day, I need a little vacation.
Listen, I feel you, man. I feel you. No worries on that. I get it. All right, let's move for this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this, what we were bringing up a little bit earlier. USC and Texas. And there's been a lot of trash. And I don't know how many of you folks have TikTok. I have a video that I did right after Tatum made his announcement. It's hit like 30,000 views. And I was just laughing about how Lincoln said that you can't recruit to Norman elite talent. And he was right. He couldn't do it. He was unable to. He struggles with it a bit there in Southern California as well, although they're doing pretty well in the recruiting. But he struggled with a guy that you would have expected them to probably get, as being the offensive guru that he is. But I've gotten a lot of hate out of Texas as well. Even a lot of those guys saying that he would be headed this way, if not, he'd be headed down to Austin, if not for the fact that they're so loaded in their room. And that's what you're hearing the most is we're loaded in that running back room. There's no way. They're chirping and they're just not coping all that well. Jay, what do you think about that? Just not coping very well. Don't you love it?
I mean, it's funny when fans go the route of, we didn't want them anyway. We didn't care. But you're here in the chat watching in hopes that he will pick your school. I even say that to our fans. Don't lie and act like we didn't want somebody. Like I said, if it was a top two, you wanted them. If it was only two teams to choose from, you wanted them. Top eights, I've seen players throw random schools on there, and it's like, yeah, I know that no one has seen or talked to that player in months. Sometimes in top fours too. Like I know a particular top four that came out for someone that I'm anticipating will come to Oklahoma that added a school, and it's like, why did you add that additional school? Like that school had no chance, but the graphic has that school on there. So, I mean, sometimes it's for suspense, and I totally get that, but yet don't lie to yourself and act like you didn't want a particular player. You wanted them. You wanted them whenever, they decided that they put you on the top and they were ready to announce. Now, we do know in some circumstances there are teams that have backed off of players, and we've seen that. But we can't. Don't pretend like you didn't want them. That's the one thing only gets me with fans. And I say that to ours too. Sooner fans, I say it with Notre Dame fans. I say that with all fans for all programs. Don't act like you didn't want the player just because you lost out at the finish line when there's only two of you left. That's one, no excuse.
Absolutely. And there's no two ways around it. And see, you're right. Texas is loaded every year and underperforms. That's just how they roll. Look, they do have a hell of a running back room down there as well. I'm going to give them that. And so does USC for that matter. That doesn't mean you don't want one of the top running backs, the number one running back in the country, particularly when it's down to you and one other school. And don't tell me for 1 second that Lincoln didn't want to do that to kind of rub it in OU's face a little bit.
Especially when it's your rival.
Absolutely. You just left the school. You're getting attacked from every angle, from OU fans, from the administration. Look, the way that he left town wasn't cool. Period. You don't have to. You can say that OU fans are not getting over it and all that. No, they're not over it. I think OU fans are grateful of what they have, because you're starting to see the type of team that they're building, which can actually win a national championship. I'm still not convinced that Lincoln knows what it's going to take or is going to build the team that it's going to take to win a national championship. You have to do more on defense than what he's willing to do. And they continue to get better offensively, but on the defensive side, you're just not seeing those guys being pulled in that direction. They're just not doing it. So to me, you can say whatever you want, but there's guaranteed Lincoln wanted to get that one. Now all of a sudden you're not getting offensive guys and defensive guys. It doesn't look good for him. So he wanted that one for sure. That's just one of those deals. We can kind of run that into what we were talking about with Caden Durham. What do you see with this LSU visit, Jay? Do you feel like this is a situation where he may be headed that way, or is it signaling that he's headed to the Bayou?
So I want to level set this with all fans around Durham and understand this one thing. Caden Durham is a track guy. LSU has one of the best track programs in the country. Their sprinting coach is king. That dude's king. Their sprinting coach is legit. And so regardless of where we think he's going to go, LSU will always be lurking. If they're behind or if they're ahead, it's always going to have something to do with them, because they've been going after Caden Durham hard because of the track side, similar to, you could say, about Oklahoma and Tatum when it came to baseball, Taylor Tatum. So I can see Caden going to LSU because track, he may want to train for the Olympics. He wants to shave that 10-4, 10-3 down to get to a 9-9. If he can get to a 9-9, he's in the Olympics. He's training for that. He'll be prepping for that. And I think if anybody can do that, if anybody can do it, I think LSU can get him there. I'm just saying that. Now, granted, he comes to Oklahoma, not only plays running back, he's also going to be racing in SEC speeds, in which I believe our track program is prepared for that. So we're going to battle it out with them, but I'm not going to, I think we still lead, because remember, Durham is a 405 kid at heart. He's from Oklahoma City. He has a 405 tattoo on his leg. So he's from the 405. So if we can convince him to come play with his childhood friends of Michael Patterson McDonald, who I'm anticipating to commit on the 31st, which is Monday, I will be there. You can check my channel. I'll be live streaming from Southmore High School during his commitment. So hopefully he picks Oklahoma and doesn't embarrass me while I'm standing there recording everything. But you'll have Michael Patterson McDonald and hopefully David Stone to go with them, bringing those three friends back together, and Xavier Robinson, who's pretty tight with them also. Mm-hmm. You bring all four of them together to play in college ball, dog. That would be so dope. And I can see them wanting to do that.
I feel the same way. I think that's what they want as friends. But again, I can definitely see, and Coach, I think that's where you're leaning. Look, we just talked about how full that room is.
I think he's going to put a tiger over that 405 tattoo.
Nah, he'll never do that. He's from the 405. He'll never do that. But I could totally see him wear a tiger sleeve.
I hear you, and I do. I still think it's a toss-up. I really do. But I'm going to lean towards LSU as much as I don't want to.
And I think that you have to kind of understand it. I mean, never hear the end of it. Sooner Cowboy said, I don't know who's going to talk about it. Who cares? The fact is, you got the number one ranked back out of that class headed to OU already. And you already have loaded. The room's loaded as it is. I don't know what you would say, and again, at some point it gets to a point where they have to start thinking about what's going on for their future. And maybe it's a better idea. And as Jay said, that track program at LSU is the real deal.
Oh, it's legit.
If he's trying to be an Olympian, then that's probably his thought pattern on it, is to be an Olympic sprinter. That's what I want to go do. So can you blame the kid for wanting to do it? No, I wouldn't blame him for it. And in the end, I think that if anything, you want to see a situation where he goes and succeeds in what he wants to do, whether or not that's as a Sooner or not. If he's an Oklahoma kid, love on him anyway. He doesn't have to be a Sooner for you to keep loving on him, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where I would, say it's a good situation for him.
He's going to be in great shape either way.
I agree. I think so. I think that he's going to be a hell of a player. And if he's that fast and he's got an opportunity to go represent the U.S. at the Olympics, that's a serious deal, particularly on the track. Man, I don't know. I always think of those Olympics and growing up watching, Carl Lewis and those guys just go out there and get it done, right? And then, of course, come on. You think of sprinters, you start thinking Usain Bolt nowadays, and wow, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time blaming them either way. I don't, it is what it is. And I don't know. Yeah.
I think Coach Kelly is going to sell him on his accent and his dancing abilities. I think he's got him all the way.
Oh, on that? Yeah, right. Yeah, he's great with that stuff, right? Yeah, he's committing on books, Twitter Space. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, Brian, what did you say up there, Casey? Lincoln is leaving USC after this year. Yeah, listen, and that's the thing. Yeah, I don't care. And I think Lori said up above that just a few minutes ago. If he was still coaching OU, would you be as excited about the SEC? No, probably not, because you're not going to put it together. And make no mistake, he was looking for a way out. USC provided that way. He did not want to coach in the SEC because he knew that it was going to force him to change the way he did things. He could sit there and see what was going on with Leach, and I don't think that was. Go ahead.
I think it's comical to even with that, because now he's headed to the Big Ten, which is going to be just as brutal.
Is it?
Yes, because it's going to be Michigan and Ohio State beating up on everybody in the conference like they always do. You'll have Penn State get 10 wins in a season, and Michigan State will have its moments. They'll have a 10-win season and a 4-win season.
Sure.
But those two top teams, the ones you need to get past to get to a title, to get to a playoff game, to get to a Rose Bowl, they're going to get blown up by them.
And I tend to agree with that, and not because of and a lot of it also has to do with, like JJ was been talking about, that offense like that doesn't necessarily play in November in freaking Wisconsin or Minnesota. Speed slows down in the cold. It just does.
And they like to play slow ball up there.
There's a reason why that offenses don't really change up there. It's I wonder what's going to happen with Phil Longo's offense there at Wisconsin now. I don't know. In Wisconsin is one of those drag it out. They're gonna.
Well, that's why they like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, guys. In them big piles, you get to warm up a little bit.
Right? Yeah. I like it. Good stuff. Listen, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens on that. All right. Coach, I want you to talk to us a little bit about, and this is a big deal for you and for Coach Freeman as well, adding defensive jewel in make sure I say this right. Vilamau Asa. Yeah.
I call him KVA. It's easy for me.
Yeah, talk to us about him a little bit, Coach.
Well,
what is your thoughts on this? And they're in the top 10 in recruiting. This is a big deal for Coach Freeman, and this. Obviously, there's another side to this we're going to have to talk about. But what are your thoughts here?
Well, we're super excited to get him. He went off on a retreat. Obviously, USC and Ohio State were the other top 2 schools that were vying for him to come in and play, and he went on a little retreat with his church and came back, and honestly he made the statement that OSU was where he was actually leaning. And when he came back out of the retreat, basically he said, after praying a lot about it, I felt like Notre Dame was where I needed to go. So I think he got to visit a little bit with Touchdown Jesus while he was away. We're super excited to get a kid like this, guys. We've struggled getting this type of caliber of athlete. But again, I think Notre Dame is slowly creeping up in the recruiting as well.
Right.
Couldn't be any better that he didn't go to Lincoln Riley and USC. That excited me more than him even not going to Ohio State. But we're excited. Great linebacker, can very mobile, big, strong kid in the middle. He'll probably play Mike linebacker for us, and I think he'll come in and contribute this year. I think he's ready to play at this level. Now I don't know that it's going to be a lot early on,
Sure,
but I think we're going to see him getting some snaps. He can play on the edge as well. He's got the ability to also be able to cover slot receivers and do some things like that I think we're going to be able to use him in multiple places.
Yeah, and as obviously as OU fans, we love that as well, because as we saw from hey, get down. He's good. As we saw there that they stuffed Muleshoe in a locker on that one as well. And Hank said that he saw on some message boards talking about that that was more important to a lot of SC fans to get KVA than it was to get Taylor Tatum. Yeah, so you lost out on both of them either way. So good news. Good
I
news.
love it. Good stuff.
Yep. Norman over here, all up in Coach's business here. Let's see if we can get him on screen here, Coach. For all of you who hadn't seen Norman. Oh, no. He's
Come on, Stormin' Norman. Come on. Get up here.
Come on, buddy.
Norman's like, nah.
You've been trying to get up here for 2 hours, and now you don't want to get up there? Come here. Look. Say hello to everybody. Norman.
Yeah,
you need a Norman cam. Give Norman a bed and just put a camera that points directly at him, and you just occasionally go to the Norman cam.
We're gonna get him in some Irish stuff here too.
Yeah, when we don't have all three cameras going at once, there is a Norman cam. But now that we have that other one, I'm gonna have to get my iPhone cam on him or something like that to add that fourth one in.
There he is.
I'm gonna have to get that one. But
what's up, my buddy?
Norman's in. Yeah,
Stormin' Norman.
This dog, I tell you, man. He's hard-headed. He's as hard-headed as Sooner Cowboy. I'll tell you that.
The best OU fan I've ever loved right here.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's as hard-headed as Sooner Cowboy, though. I'm telling you. Whoa. All right.
Hey, something else, Jason, just before you get off. One thing that really bothered me today, though, with the Notre Dame stuff is we lost our strength and conditioning coach, Coach Bayless. And, we start practice tomorrow, and you lose your strength and conditioning coach. And I don't know what all's going on with that at this point, but it's a little disheartening to lose him. And, he's been the players love him and they worked their tails off for him. So it's a little concerning to me that we've lost a guy of that caliber, because Notre Dame was his dream job. And
it seems a little odd there, right? What's going on? What you got? What you got over there? What you throwing them arms up there for, Jay?
Dancing.
$5 for Norman. Dog biscuits, baby.
Oh, dog biscuits. $5 for Norman.
Biscuits.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Thank you, Bishop Frank.
Look
Again,
at that.
thank you, man. That's awesome.
Hey, let's get him on here some more. Look, hey.
Here, come on. There he is. Oh, Normie. Yep, we're gonna. I'm working on. I think we're gonna put some kind of a little perch back behind us, so with his bed and stuff, so he can kind of hang out back there.
You need to get him an OU sweater.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. This big old dog, man. He's gonna be 150 pounds, so I'm gonna need them dog biscuit money.
Me and him starting to have a relationship.
Yeah, look, he's a love on anybody. He love on them all. He's a lover dog, man.
Well, I think he's kind of liking this ND right here.
Easy,
I
coach.
think he's like
Easy,
that.
Easy, coach. That's not how it's gonna roll.
Come on,
It's
Jay.
not how it's gonna roll, man. No. Nah, man. Let's see, coach. Let's see, BV could coach that long at Saban. Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna jump back through a few more. Okay, couple of things we didn't really announce and talk about a little bit earlier. We have another commitment today from offensive lineman Eugene Brooks. That's another thing that actually was good. They were battling Texas for that one, so that's big as well. And then we didn't really talk about the PWO wide receiver out of South Lake Carroll, Jacob Jordan, which, man, I was watching some of his film. That kid's going to be good, man. He had 16 touchdowns a year ago, like, 1,800 yards or something like that? And
so he had 67 catches, 1,200 yards, 16 touchdowns last season. He was out there eating. Yeah. So and Carroll's just, another one of those programs in that Metroplex area that, they've had a lot of. I mean, that's where Quinn Ewers went as well. I mean,
South Lake consistently has some great athletes.
There was a time there that's where all those Cowboys kids were playing, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's an amazing program down there as well. You get more and more of those schools every year that are just really battling for that title in Class 6A in Texas. This is a big time pickup there, and particularly to be able to get him with a PWO. I like that. Anytime that you can take away an offensive line talent from Texas, that's huge because especially in view of the fact that they're probably one of the things I like the most about what Sark's doing down in Texas is they're dumping freaking money, right?
Yeah.
They're dumping money on them offensive linemen because Sark knows it's important, something they're going to have to do, right? Boomer, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. Hey, man, we appreciate that. Again, we'll sit that over there his way as well. All right. What is that? He's got to be 50. I can see him call. Hey, man. Hey, look, maybe so. Let's get a couple of national championships first, and then we'll see what happens.
We'll talk about
with it,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to kind of wait and see where he's at on that. Thanks a lot again, though, Bishop Frank. Yeah, but talk to me about what you're hearing about that recruitment there. What was it that brought Eugene to OU there, Jay?
Beatenbow. He wants to be developed by Bill Beatenbow. And the one big thing, I talked about in one of the videos I dropped on him is his versatility. He has the capabilities of playing both tackle. He plays tackle now in high school. He's being recruited as a guard. And so that versatility is something that Beatenbow always looks for when it comes to offensive linemen. And the techniques, of course, are different between guards and tackles. And so because of that, him being able to play multiple positions, huge. And so because of that overall, that's one reason why you definitely want him on your roster. And so I can see him coming out here and really making a difference. I watched some of his film from the UA Next camps.
Right.
He's vicious. He's a violent offensive lineman, even without pads.
Popping,
bro.
Man. He was out there popping, right?
He's popping, bow, 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 just manhandling, tossing dudes. Then get up and apologize. My bad, bro. I love it.
And he's
beat him and say my bad.
Right, is he another one of those Vegas kids though that then he ended up in California?
He was teammates with Javante Barnes. And if I'm correct, Barnes hosted him when he came for his visit in early June. And so Barnes is his former teammate in Las Vegas. He left after the sophomore year, went to Sierra Canyon out in California.
Okay.
So he went to what's the Desert Pines is the school?
Desert Pines or Cimarron, I think. One of those
Desert
two,
Pines is one Barnes went to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I knew that. See, and a lot of those kids come out of Bishop Gorman out of Las Vegas as well. And that's of course where DeMarco went was to Bishop Gorman.
Is that where Jake came from, Taylor?
I believe
Devontae
so.
Devontae was Desert Pines. So yeah.
Desert Pines. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. And listen, and the thing is that, that just kind of goes to show you though that DeMarco still, he's kind of really been able to get that Las Vegas pipeline kind of coming as well. There's a lot of good high school football in Las Vegas. There's 4 or 5 programs, Bishop Gorman being the best of them because they're recruiting. but they've really built a nice little high school football area there. You know, they've got some really good programs, 4 or 5 of them really, that it just, man, they can get out and play. So, and that Desert Pines definitely was one of them. So I agree. Loving that though. So yeah. And now he's there at, where is he at now? Oh, in California,
Sierra Canyon.
So
the big school out there. Yeah.
Goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey man. I mean, it's and again, you know, the private schools out in California, they're definitely doing their thing as well. So that's cool. All right. BV should win 2 titles in 5 years. Hey, I just want to see one right away. That'd be awesome. But it would be cool. Are we going to see a 3-peat Jeffrey Lamb? Are we talking about Georgia there? I don't know.
It's tough to do, guys.
I think it's tough to do too. I think we're gonna wait and see kind of what happens with their quarterback situation. You would expect they're going to get an opportunity to because of that schedule. Really, the only huge test I see is the Tennessee game on the road. I think they're going to get an opportunity to. Are they going to be able to hold off an offense like especially like in Ohio State? If Ohio State has a defense also, you know, I wouldn't go counting out again, or to be able to hold off a team like Clemson if they're able to put it together like I've been talking about and like I expect them to win the ACC, not have more than one loss, getting into the playoff. I feel like Clemson is, the more and more I start seeing them, if they can put it together offensively, I think that the rest of the country is in trouble. I just do. But we'll see.
Which on that?
I think Clemson will be pretty darn good. I don't know that they'll be playing in the big dance, but I think they do have the possibility of doing that.
Oh, Lori's saying no. Oh, you will win 3 in a row. Hey, man, it's been a long time since we even won one, Lori. But I love that kind of expectations. I hope to see that happens. But I'll take one. One for now.
So I think the Georgia piece, the struggle is going to be, like you said, the quarterback position. Who's going to play? I mean, they've got 5-star quarterbacks that's now like 3rd and 4th in the depth chart. And that's not a good thing, which is my point behind that. That's not a good thing. They haven't been able to get a 5-star quarterback to really produce for them since Matt Stafford. And so Stat Pafford was probably their best one. Jake Fromm was okay. So I can't knock his game, but
I like Jake better than a lot of people did.
Yeah, but Eason ended up transferring because of Jake from State Farm. You missed out on Justin Fields, who bounced and then goes and shows at Ohio State. Stetson Bennett's a 2-time walk-on, so they're not. That's what I'm trying to see if they're gonna. And then Brock Vandegrift is there now as a backup. Like I said, I think he's like 3rd or 4th in the depth chart, and I'm expecting him. He needs to transfer if he's going to actually play. He should have went to Clemson like last year. He probably would have been starting at Clemson, but I digress on that. That's kind of the piece right now. It's what is the quarterback going to look like? And so that's why I cannot give them a 3-peat, because I don't think you can catch lightning in a bottle twice by getting a 2-time walk-on. It's going to walk in there and do enough to lead your offense to wins. I don't see that happening, especially with all the little turmoil that's going on with players speeding and stuff. There's going to be some repercussions to that eventually. But that's why I don't see a repeat of 3 for them. But I definitely see them coming back in like a year or two and at least competing for it, because then they'll have that quarterback position. Remember, they got a new OC coming in because Todd Monken is gone. And so that changes the game again. Same thing with Alabama. They've got new OC and new DC coming in and a new quarterback set up. All of that change throws things off if you don't have a veteran quarterback walking in the door. And Bryce Young ain't there, and neither is Stetson Bennett.
And obviously their new OC is their old OC as well. So, but there's, it's a difference. And the truth is, if their quarterback that, you said he's dropped down throughout, the 5-star guy that he's dropped down to 3rd on the depth chart, that's a problem, so that makes you wonder whether or not he is ready for this position. Sometimes you figure on the Stetson Bennett, they've been trying to get rid of his ass there for 3 years. They've been trying to get him off the team for 3 years. Finally he comes, but I mean, he won back-to-back championships. I tend to wonder that sometimes it's those intangible things that kind of do it for you as a quarterback, particularly when you have a defense like they had. And let's not get it twisted. Receiver-wise, tight ends, everything else, and running backs, it's not like they were playing with a bunch of scrubs, right? And I would tell you that it's kind of the same type of deal now. They don't need the guy to come in and be Peyton Manning. That's not what they need. They need somebody who's going to be kind of similar to Stetson Bennett and just not make a bunch of stupid mistakes, right?
Agree.
Don't turn the football over, and you got an opportunity. Because when you have a defense like that and you have the weapons that you have, you can just not screw it up, and it would probably be fine. I go back to kind of Barry Switzer with the Cowboys back in the day. Once Jimmy Johnson left, and Barry said it, what do you got to do? Nothing. Just go in and just play. Let them play. Let them do their thing, not to badmouth Barry Switzer at all. The king is the king. I'm just saying he knew enough to know, don't screw with it. You don't have to. You got a bunch of Hall of Famers, right? Who's our Final Four? Oh, well, I'll give you that, Jay. What do you got? Who's your Final Four? Who are you going to give?
For this season? Oh, man. So I'm going to say I'm not buying into Clemson. I have bought into Florida State.
Okay.
I'm sold on Florida State, especially because of the return of the defensive line players. They picked up the cat from Western Michigan to go along with Jared Verse, and I think that's a huge deal. So they've done a great job of getting defensive linemen from the portal that come from smaller programs and do very well with them. They're eating in that capacity. So defense, they're going to be good. They still got Jordan Travis, which I think is one of the better quarterbacks in the country in college football. I don't know if he'll make it to the pros, but I do think that he's a college quarterback, Chris Leak a la type setup. So having all of that in place, I think Florida State and Mike Norvell is going to set them up for good success. I think they run through the ACC. They're the one team that I think may potentially go undefeated all the way through. I think they beat LSU in the first game of the season. Now, the second team is going to be a Big Ten team. Either Ohio State or Michigan's going undefeated. And yeah, I know John Harbaugh just got suspended 4 games because of lying to investigators. Cool. The first 4 games includes 3, I don't know if they're actually real teams, and then Rutgers. And so Sharon Moore, the former OU offensive lineman, will be the interim head coach, and he's going to win 4 games, which is going to help him get a head coaching job next year. He's also won 2 straight Joe Moore awards. Keep that in mind.
Right.
He's going to run the deal. They're going to go 4-0. They'll probably beat Ohio State again this season. I think Michigan's up undefeated too. The last 2 spots are the toughest for me because it's definitely an SEC team. And honestly, the way that things are shaking up because of teams bringing in a veteran presence, I really think that LSU may end up going and only losing 1 game. The 1 game being Florida State. But I can see LSU going. I know that we're not trying to believe in, Brian Kelly's of the world, but Brian Kelly took Notre Dame there. And it's really hard to recruit to Notre Dame nowadays. I think that he's going to do it this time because he's the only team that's bringing back the same quarterback that's actually good. So I'm giving LSU that nod. 4th spot's going to be the hardest. If we finish with a top 20 defense, we will be the 4th spot. If we do not finish with a top 20 defense, it's going to be Georgia.
Okay.
That's my teams.
So you got FSU, Michigan,
LSU, either Oklahoma or Georgia.
OU or UGA. All right, yep. Coach, who you got?
I and Jay, I'm gonna kind of agree with you on FSU, although I believe Clemson's going to be pretty darn good. But if y'all remember when we picked our top 20 early on in the season, I think I had Florida State, I think at number 3, And so I'm staying with that pick. I hate to say, but I think Michigan's going to be in the hunt. I'm not a Harbaugh fan by any means, but I think they're going to be in the hunt. I have a toss-up between Georgia and Alabama. Again, Alabama, the quarterback situation is what, again, both of those guys, Georgia and Alabama. I struggle with, who's going to come out of that one because they both are going to have some issues there. And the one that everybody will laugh at, but they're true to my heart. And I think we're going to surprise a lot of people this season. And I think the Irish, I know we have some tough ball games in Ohio State, Clemson, but and USC. But I truly believe all three of those are winnable ball games. And I think having Hartman at quarterback is going to make a world of difference for us, and we're going to be better defensively than we were a year ago. So I'm obviously going to pick Notre Dame to be in the hunt.
Okay, so you've got FSU, Notre Dame, Georgia.
I'm going to have to take Georgia over. Yeah.
And who was the fourth one? FSU, Notre Dame, Georgia. Michigan. Okay. All right. My turn. All right. I believe that FSU doesn't do it. I think that they're going to get beat by LSU this time around. I like Jalen Daniels better than I like the quarterback there. And honestly, I don't think a ton of FSU anyway. I believe they're also going to get beat by Clemson. As I said earlier, I've got Clemson in the playoff for sure. Let's go ahead and put them in. You're going to have a Big Ten team. I suspect that it's probably going to be Ohio State this time around. I don't expect Michigan to beat them 3 years in a row. Maybe they do have the number for it, and I'm not a big Ryan Day fan. But I believe that even if they lose to Notre Dame, which I think very well could happen, I think Ohio State cruises through the rest of it. I don't think much of the Big Ten as is. They beat Michigan. They get back into the playoff as well. Then I'm going to look at obviously the SEC is going to be LSU for me, and it could be UGA as what Jay was talking about, depending on if they were to both get there undefeated, you're probably going to see two go in. I think that Oklahoma would have to kind of backdoor to get in there. Possibility that they could lose the first Red River game, and then you turn around, and if they get into that championship game, they could win it. But do you put in OU over Georgia if Georgia just lost that championship game? Maybe you do. I feel like you're probably going to see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and go with. No, I'm not going to do it, man. I'm going to put UGA in there because I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid and jinx it. That's the only reason. I do believe in OU. I think they're going to win the Big 12 championship, whether it's the backdoor way or not. I've been saying 10-2. I do think Oklahoma, I don't know that they get into the playoff. I think they win the Big 12 championship. We'll go from there and kind of see how it goes. But I do not want to make that prediction and have to eat crow at the end of the year. I want to see this come together and them actually get it done before I say so. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that I believe in this team. I think that this schedule sets up for you to win really minimum 10 games. I think that if they go to 9-3, 8-4, something catastrophic has probably happened. Right?
Yeah,
I've been saying that. So I do feel like they're going to be that. They could be 11-1. They could be 10-2. I would never pick them to go undefeated because you just don't see that happen very often. And so I would never do that. But that being said, I also know that they lost a lot of close games. I want to see them take that step before I start predicting that they take that step, right? Do I believe in them? Absolutely. And I think they do win I do think they win the Big 12 championship. I certainly believe in Coach V a hell of a lot more than I believe in Sark. 7-win Sark is going to find a way to not win 10 games again, as he always does.
Yep.
I don't see, and I think as good as they're going to be, I think they're going to find a way to screw it up. I actually don't even know that you would see Oklahoma play them in that conference championship game. I suspect it's probably going to be Kansas State. That's just my thoughts on it, right? So we'll see kind of what happens. But I don't want to pick that fourth one as the Final Four. I like Clemson, LSU, and Ohio State. I really hate the Big Ten. I would tell you that I think they all suck. So I could see you ending up with 2 SEC teams, and maybe somehow they screw it up in the Big Ten and don't get in. I think the champ gets in, unless it was Illinois or some crap like that. But I don't see that. So, I just that's the way it's kind of going to go. Right. UK State, yeah, I kind of believe that. Jen, are you saying you don't believe K-State? Yeah. UK State as well? Yeah. Can't because of 3 consecutive possibility. Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like UGA is probably going to get in there. And I just feel like aside from that Tennessee game, I really don't know that they have – I mean, the SEC championship game could be tough, So last year of divisions – they're probably it's going to be either Bama or LSU. Guessing. So, yeah, definitely. But I feel like Georgia, their defense is going to be good enough to get them back there. I think that if it's close, they're going to stuff Georgia in because they could win that 3rd straight national championship game. Television executives aren't stupid. They're going to want to see them give it a shot, unless they just don't, right? Unlevel playing field sucks. Yeah. I don't see how they do, man, Dalton. Yeah. How do they? They got to win. You got to win 10. You got to figure you have to win 10. Maybe 9 wins get you in it, possibly. My guess is you got to win 10 because of the fact that OU plays kind of a bit of an easy schedule, So,
yep.
I guess the other way, if I could see Texas. They do get K-State and Texas Tech at home. Those are the 2 dark horses for that out of this conference to me. And really, K-State isn't really a dark horse whenever you just won the thing, a year ago. So I wouldn't really call them a dark horse. TCU, I still feel like they were going to have a bit of a hangover. As much as I like Sonny, I think that they're having to learn a new offense, and I think it's going to be different. In view of the fact that and I don't know that defensively they're going to be anywhere close to what they were. I think that a lot of what they benefited from was Patterson's leftover defensive guys and what they were doing, right? That's just kind of how I feel about it. I think you need to have 10 wins though, Kason. Yes. Let's talk about Hey, Lori, I am not the guy for all this recruiting talk. I got to tell you, there's some guys out there. I'm sure. I'm going to tell you, I have a hard enough time keeping up with 24. All right. Jay is your guy. Him and PG are the ones that dig this recruiting on that kind of stuff. I don't know about these guys. I'm just going to let you know now. There's a couple of guys that I'm aware are out there. I don't love recruiting talk. I just don't. So it's one of those things that I'm going to keep up with it when it matters. And right now the 24 guys matter to me. The 25 guys,
25 is not a real year.
Yeah. What's
25 is not a real 25 is not a real year. So we'll just say
it's not yet. It's not yet. And I'm very excited about Kevin Sperry in 25. I'll tell you that. That kid can freaking spin it. I'm excited to see what kind of, and hey, Oklahoma fans, you're going to get a chance to see a lot of him over the next 2 years. They're right in the Oklahoma City area as he's playing for, what's the name of that school again, Jay, that he's going to go to?
Who?
Sperry.
Oh, he's at Midwest City, Carl Albert.
Midwest City. Yeah.
Is that
So
Carl
they're,
Albert
you
High
know, they're
School? So yeah.
woo, yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. That's gonna be a lot of fun seeing him though. But again, it is what it is. We beat Texas in the Cotton Bowl. Then I say we're 11-1 playing for the playoffs. If we drop that game, I'll say 10-2 playing in New Year's Six. Listen, I could definitely see that. Case, and I really like that. Again, yeah, hey man, believe it. 12-0, huh? Woo, Brian, I like it. You got some stones to say that out there, but yeah, that's cool, man. But now it's going to be recorded and on there for everybody to see. So remember, Carl Albert, who's better, Sperry or Arnold? Depends on who you ask. I've heard people that say that Sperry's going to be every bit as good, if not better, than Jackson. He was doing Jackson Arnold things as a sophomore last year in the Metroplex. So, but I like Jackson Arnold a lot. It's a good problem to have. To me, it seems like Sperry comes in, maybe waits a year, and you still got Michael Hawkins in the mix there as well. Some of these other guys, are we hearing anything new on these other quarterbacks that they might be trying to bring in? I know that Northwestern kid seems like, because of what happened there, that he might be a possibility, right?
Yeah, I like Brendan Zerbrug a lot. He can spin it, and he looks like he does a really good job with the RPO. He kind of reminds me of the way Sperry plays. They can both spin it well. I think mechanic-wise, I want to see an improvement out of Brendan, but I don't think that's going to be a problem long-term for him. He knows how to put the ball there. He knows how to scramble, runs the RPO very well. So, yeah, I know that he's supposed to be visiting this weekend, and I would not be surprised if we get a commitment out of if he decommits and flips his commitment by the beginning of next week, because we're taking 2 quarterbacks just for depth. Similar, and I had a few people ask this question. They're like, "Hey, why are you taking 2 quarterbacks? It means you don't believe in your other quarterback there." No, that's not the case. Alabama took 2 quarterbacks last cycle specifically because they want to make sure they had the depth at the quarterback position, not only for competition but people can play. Because remember. If your OC is good enough, your offense is good enough, all you need is about a year, maybe 2 of tape, and you can go pro. Yeah. Look at Mac Jones. Absolutely. Mac Jones played 1 year for Bama, and he got himself drafted in the first round. So that's all you got to do. Get a year of tape, go out there and show out, and you'll be just fine.
It should not be hard for an Oklahoma fan to understand this at all after last season. Right. You know what I mean? And get as many of them as you can, because you just don't know what could happen. You get a guy that goes down, you want to have somebody that can come in, fill in right now. We don't want to deal with that again. Last year sucked. Yeah, look, when Dylan went down and I'm not going to say the score, but the Red River game after that, that's brutal. It's brutal. So, it's one of those things. They're going to continue to do that. Look, and you just don't know. You just don't know. Some guys are going to work out. Some aren't. You got to have, Bill Walsh used to say that you need to draft a quarterback every year.
Yeah, you should have a quarterback in every single class. And that was one of the problems we had here is we didn't have a quarterback in every single class. And like I said, sometimes you may get a quarterback that end up going to the draft early, and then you need to go ahead and add 2 to replace that body. You want to have someone every single year coming in, and you want to have that consistency just in case long term.
And coach, for what other reason? I mean, think about competition is as big a part of it as anything else. It's just competition makes everybody better.
Absolutely. And guys, let's go back and look at just history itself. Quarterbacks get hurt. I mean, you better have a backup, because the chances are, and they may not be out all season, but there's times they're in a big ball game and they may be out for a few series that could cost you a ball game. And again, that competition, like you said, Jason, the more competition you have, the better both quarterbacks are going to be. And you need a bevy of quarterbacks, as many as you can put out there.
Absolutely. And like as Chicken says, Kyler Murray 1 year, goes number 1 in the draft, wins the Heisman. That's, you got to stock them up. You got to make sure. And here's another thing I would say. how many quarterbacks in this day and age are finishing their college career with the same school that they started it with?
Right.
It's rare, guys. With Hawkins, I know what you're talking about up there, Case. You know, and I don't want to listen. I think that Hawkins is unreal good. I think that he's a little underrated because not only can he throw it as well as he can, we're talking about a guy that his dad was in the NFL as a defensive back for more than a decade. So that's an athlete. This is a real athlete we're talking about. Don't they? And competitive, by the way, you know. So thinking that he's just gonna say, well, yeah, Kevin Sperry's coming behind me, I'm gonna lose this job. No. This is not the way these kids think. Period. You know, and so, and as good as I think Sperry's gonna be, and I don't know for sure what's gonna happen with Hawkins, I'm gonna tell you watch his film. He's the real deal too. You know, and he's probably a little more athletic than even Jackson as well. Just a baller, man. He's just a baller. And again, he comes from good genes. You know, his dad was over a decade in the NFL. The dude can ball. So don't get it twisted. These guys are going to go in and they're going to compete. And this is what you want, right? This is what you want. So keep loading them up, man. Keep loading them up. And Hawkins can throw it, man. He can. He's a good athlete. Look, he's as big a reason for why we got the tight end that we just got. 5-star tight end that just, you know, he was the number one for the 2025 class. What did he end up being? I think they've got him down to like 6 or something like that for this 2024 class. He could have a huge season and come back and be a 5-star again. But I mean, because look at that. Oh my gosh. The things that they did at Allen last year together.
Exactly.
The real deal.
So keep your eyes open. I think Mitchell's going to move back up the charts by the end of this. He'll be a 5-star tight end by the end of the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yep. JT Daniels. Let's see. Awesome. Yep. Hey guys, we appreciate everybody coming in here and spending some time with us today. We are going to be back this week. As I said, Nigel Smith on Saturday. I'm going to be coming back with a deep dive, probably Thursday or Friday. I'm not positive for sure yet. I've got something I got to go take care of in my hometown. So I need to get out of here after this stream tonight, go take care of that. But I will definitely either be Thursday or Friday. We'll be doing another deep dive. Going to jump into TCU as well as Texas, Oklahoma. Might even jump in a little Okie Light. Might see if we can get Okie Light Cody to come in. Talk to him. I'm
going to miss that.
Yeah, man.
Are you kidding?
I think he's a little pissy at me, though. I don't even know for sure that he'll do it. So we're going to try. We're going to see how everything goes. Jay, we appreciate you coming in and joining the show with us. You know, as usual, great stuff. Tell everybody how to find you.
Just search on YouTube, Unfair Sports. Got the shirt here, got the merch as well. You can find the links in the channel, but search for me there. We'll be doing, you know, we drop a whole bunch of content. We do a lot of recruiting stuff. I'm more the recruiting guy, where Jason's more the commentary guy. But we'll be also dropping a whole bunch of theory crafts and stuff on things as we prepare for the season. And thanks for having me as usual. I'll catch y'all later.
And you know, Jay, I really love listening to your perspectives and your breath of fresh air as you bring your different insights and perspectives into this. And Jason, obviously, I think you do a great job with, like Jay said, the commentary piece and knowing.
I definitely have opinions.
Knowing the game and the players. And I would like to just add one thing real quick. One of my high school coaches that I love dearly and was part of the reason that I got into coaching passed away yesterday. And if y'all would just please say a prayer for Coach Robert Langford and his family. And you know, his daughter, God bless her heart, she just lost her brother to cancer about a month ago, and a few weeks later lost her mother and now lost her dad. But again, please keep the Langford family in your prayers. And again, thank you for that.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate you as well, bringing your insight in. We love it. Always a great time.
Coach has been definitely among the more popular things that he couldn't have been better for my show when he came along. I'm so appreciative of it. When I started this channel, it was with a good friend of mine, Bryce. We still would love to have him come back at some point. But the coach, I mean, and Jay, and I don't know, we talked about this a whole lot. You should have seen the dude at freaking Big 12 Media Days. He was the king. You know, they loved him. Every coach there knew him. He brings some clout to this program that we desperately needed. So happy to have you here, Coach. And definitely we will be keeping Coach Langford and his family in our prayers as well. Guys, we appreciate everybody so much for coming in once again. Thank you again. We will talk to you guys. Hey, I will see you either Thursday or Friday, but don't forget Nigel Smith, Saturday at 2 Eastern time, right here on Hall of Fame College Football. We will see you then.